If you are wondering how I built this piece of art, let's get started. Like the big tree I built last Christmas, I'm using an 8x4 PVC board, 3/4 inch by 1.5 inch by 8-foot wood strips, 1 inch wide PVC molding, a box of Twinkly 400 smart LED bulbs, and beer pong balls. If you didn't see the video for the big tree, please browse my channel. As you can see, I pre-cut the PVC board to a rectangular shape of 35 by 53 inches. Once cut, I take a ruler from the bottom of each corner and move up 2.5 inches and put a mark. I did the same from the corner moving in, and that will be my outside border. I proceeded by tracing the lines to create the border. From the trace line from the bottom of the shorter side of the board, I use a ruler to put a mark every 2 inches till I reach the top line. I repeated the same on the opposite side. Once completed, I use the ruler to trace and connect the lines. In the end, I ended up with the 16 trace lines. I retook the ruler and put a mark every 2 inches on the first trace line. Once again, I repeat the same on the opposite side. I ended up with 25 marking points. Once again with the ruler, I traced and connected the lines. Once completed, I ended up with this evenly spaced grid. Each corner of those little boxes will have a light adding up to 400 bulbs. I used the drill to drill a hole in each of those corners. There you have the insertion point for each light. To create the border, I measured the wood strips to the exact size of the board at 35 by 53 inches, 2 35 and 53 inch strips, and I used a miter saw to cut them to length. After that, I use a speed square to trace a 45-degree line at the end of each wood strip and use the miter saw accordingly to cut them. I sanded those edges to clean it out. Before moving forward, I tape where the border will be and paint the inner part of the board and the strips black. I started the project late in the day because of the extreme heat the past couple of weeks, so by now it was dark, so I let the board and the strips dry overnight. By the following day, my board and the strips were dried and ready for the project's next steps. After removing the tape, I began lining the strips to form the border. I put some glue on the back of the strips, clamped them, and use a brad nailer to lock them in place with the board. I don't want the lights and the cable to rub against the wall once I hang the frame up, so I cut these 4 pieces of wood and nailed them to the corners of the frame to provide separation. Now the fun part, inserting each light into the frame. The process is simple, but I ensure each light was inserted in its proper hold. I tested it to make sure everything was working before moving forward. The next part is simple but time consuming. I took a beer pong ball for each light, put a hole in the center large enough to fit the bulb, put hot glue around the hole, and inserted it to cover each bulb. We are getting there. Here it is with each ball in place. It's looking good, but let's proceed. Now it's time to put the finishing touch on it. I measured and cut the PVC molding as I did the wood strips. I lined them up with the frame and used the brad nailer again to connect them to the frame. It's looking pretty. It's a frame after all, so I screwed in the hangers on each side. I present to you the frame, inspired by Twinkly. It sure looks much better than it does in this video. Now let's run a couple of effects on it. Once again, the video doesn't do it justice. It's Christmas in July. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.